Carly Simon has been keeping a secret for 50 years. You know the song. Everyone knows the song. You're So Vain. Number 1 in 1973, one of the most recognizable songs in American music history. And for 50 years, the question has been the same. Who is it about? She has answered that question in pieces over decades, dropping letters and hints and partial confessions, never giving the whole thing away. But that is not the story I want to tell you today. Because the secret at the center of You're So Vain is not the most interesting thing about Carly Simon, not by a long way. The most interesting thing is what nobody talks about. The girl who couldn't speak without stuttering. The woman who collapsed on a stage in Pittsburgh and couldn't move for 20 minutes while audience members climbed up to rub her arms and legs. The last surviving member of a family that lost 3 people to cancer in 4 years. This is the story of Carly Simon that got left out. Carly Simon grew up unable to speak. Not literally, but practically. She developed a severe stutter at the age of 6. She said later, "It was agonizing when I was asked questions at school and knew the answer, but couldn't say anything because I was scared to distort my face and voice." At the family dinner table, her father, Richard Simon, was co-founder of Simon & Schuster, one of the most powerful publishers in America. Conversation was a form of performance. Carly couldn't perform. She sat there, knowing what she wanted to say, unable to say it. Her parents sent her to a therapist. The stutter persisted. Then someone noticed something. When Carly sang, she didn't stutter. Not once, not a single hesitation. The same mouth that locked and seized and refused to produce words in ordinary speech could sing a full song without any difficulty at all. This is a documented neurological phenomenon. Stutterers can often sing flawlessly because singing activates different neural pathways than speech. But for Carly Simon at 8 years old, it wasn't a neurological fact. It was a revelation. If she could sing, she could be heard. If she could be heard, she existed. She began writing songs on a ukulele her uncle taught her to play. Every word she couldn't say in conversation, she put into music. The constraint became the craft. Carly Simon found her voice through a limitation, a stutter that locked her out of speech but left music completely open. Have you ever found something through a limitation that you couldn't have found any other way? In 1972, Carly Simon released a song called You're So Vain. It hit number 1 in January 1973. It stayed on the Billboard chart for 17 weeks. And from the moment it was released, everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who is it about? The song describes a man who walks into a party like he's walking onto a yacht. A man who flew his Learjet to Nova Scotia to see a total eclipse of the sun. A man so self-absorbed he assumes every song is about him. Simon kept quiet for 30 years. Then, in 2003, she turned the secret into something extraordinary. She held a charity auction. The highest bidder would be told the name. Under one condition, they could never reveal it publicly. A television producer named Dick Ebersol won the auction. He paid $50,000. He was given one clue before the name was revealed. The letter E was in it. The following year, Simon gave Regis Philbin 2 more letters on live television, A and R. Then in 2015, she finally confirmed the second verse is about Warren Beatty. Only the second verse. The other 2 verses are about 2 other men whose identities she has never confirmed. She said of Beatty, "Warren thinks the whole thing is about him." She added, "He would." The song that accused someone of vanity has spent 50 years making that accusation more powerful with every hint she drops and every secret she keeps. She understood something very early. The mystery was worth more than the answer. Simon sold a secret for $50,000 under a condition of permanent silence. Do you think that was genius, or do you think the world deserves to know? By the late 1970s, Carly Simon was one of the biggest recording artists in America. You're So Vain, Anticipation, Nobody Does It Better, the theme to the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me, Married to James Taylor, famous, successful, the image of someone who had everything, and Terrified, the stage fright that had been with her since childhood, since a school production of Little Women where she froze completely in front of an audience had never left. She had been managing it, sedatives before concerts, breathing exercises, the sheer force of will required to walk out in front of thousands of people when every instinct was screaming at her to run. In 1981, it stopped being manageable. She was performing in Pittsburgh. Partway through the set, she had a panic attack so severe she couldn't move. She froze on the stage. Her body simply refused to continue. Members of the audience climbed onto the stage to help her. They rubbed her arms and her legs, trying to bring her back. She got through the show, but after Pittsburgh, she stopped touring for 14 years. From 1981 to 1995, Carly Simon, one of the most successful live performers of her generation, did not tour. She made records, she wrote film scores, she won a Grammy and an Oscar and a Golden Globe. She did all of it without standing on a stage in front of a crowd. She said later, "My nervous system is on the outside." The same exposed nerve endings that made performing agonizing made her songwriting devastating. The fear and the gift came from exactly the same place. Carly Simon stopped touring for 14 years because of stage fright, while continuing to make some of the best music of her career. Do you think the fear made the music better, or despite it? Carly Simon met James Taylor in 1971. They were both already famous, both singer-songwriters, both deeply personal in their work. They married in November 1972, the same year You're So Vain was recorded. The marriage looked, from the outside, like the perfect folk rock fairy tale. Two of the most talented musicians of their generation, writing songs about love and loss and the specific difficulties of being human. Inside, it was more complicated. Taylor struggled with heroin addiction throughout their marriage. He had been in and out of treatment before they met, and the struggle continued. Simon later said the marriage was deeply painful in ways she didn't know how to talk about publicly. They had 2 children together, Ben and Sally, both of whom became musicians. They divorced in 1983, after 11 years. Simon said later, "The end of my marriage to James almost destroyed me." She has also said that writing songs about the marriage, during it and after it, was the only way she knew how to process what was happening. She didn't write songs as therapy. She wrote songs because words in music were the only words that came out right. The girl who couldn't speak without stuttering became the woman who could only truly speak through song. Simon has said the end of her marriage to James Taylor almost destroyed her, but she processed it almost entirely through music. Is that a gift or a burden, to only be able to say the real things in a song? In October 2022, Carly Simon lost both of her sisters in 2 days. On October 19th, her older sister Joanna died of thyroid cancer. She was 85 years old. On October 20th, the very next day, her sister Lucy died of breast cancer. She was 82. Carly had already lost her brother Peter in 2018. He died of lung cancer at 71. In 4 years, Carly Simon lost all 3 of her siblings. She became the sole surviving child of Richard and Andrea Simon. She said in a statement, "We were each other's secret shares." What makes this particularly devastating is what Lucy had said of Carly just before she died. Lucy said, "So much of what I love about my work comes from my time singing with Carly, finding the harmonies in duets and trios. the woman who started her career singing with Lucy, who learned harmony by standing beside her, who found her voice, the one that didn't stutter. In the specific sound of two sisters singing together. Carly herself had survived breast cancer, a double mastectomy in 1997, the same disease that killed Lucy. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2023, 1 month after losing her sisters. She did not attend the ceremony. She was in deep mourning, the girl who started singing so she could be heard, who kept a secret for 50 years, who froze on a stage in Pittsburgh, who lost a marriage and 3 siblings and survived cancer, is still here, is still writing, is 80 years old. Subscribe. We tell stories like this every week, and every one of them is real.